Good evening, everyone. This is Baba New.
Your number one internet radio source for talk, hip hop, R&B, and jazz. 102.5 KHF on blogtalkradio.com.
Yeah. They say that I be preaching too much, but I know that through the music's how you teach it to us. It's all real, playing foul, and this is for now. Listen now, it's more hating than religious now. Ain't a foul, gotta be a better way to figure out how to be a self-centered plus help.
The Rock Connection with Khepra, Ptah, and Baba New on Infinite Kim West 102.5.
Greetings and hotaps to our viewers and listeners. Welcome to the Rock Connection, brought to you by Provonic Brand Design, Drop Squad Kitchen, Morris Harrow, Studio Ptah Original. Greetings, Baba New, are you there?
Yes, sir. Peace and love, everyone. Welcome to the Rock Connection. You mentioned the Studio of Ptah, and we really need to give some, time and to really explaining how important the Studio of Ptah is. We have a living museum on the continent of America that is making just about exact replicas to the level of design and authenticity as the people who built the great nations of the Nile Valley. This jewelry is so advanced, it's so refined, it's so commode. It really should be in museums around the world. Every single museum on this planet that has an ancient Egyptian exhibit, if people want authentic, ancient Egyptian style, commode style, Nile Valley style jewelry, they can go to Studio of Ptah. But it should be such that we should be able to go to most museums and even jewelry stores,
right,
to get this piece. I would really love to live on a planet where I can wear the jewelry of my ancestors and feel proud, and where other people can share in it. So if you haven't heard the Studio of Ptah, it's about time that you do. Please check this great king out. This type of jewelry is for royalty. It's for all of us. Peace.
Ashe. And that's Bobby Haru Ankh Samaj Se Ptah. He's been one of the founding elders of the Kemetic legacy over here in the West. And, thank you for that, Baba Nu. This opens up to the fact that the Rock Connections has returned. And today, we're starting out fresh and coming back stronger than ever. Not only will you be hearing the voice of your brother, Khepra Ptah, myself, but you will also be hearing from your other brother, Baba Nu. And he is the author of 3 fabulous books, God Genes Decoded, Volume 1, 2, and 3. And it's my honor to have him as a co-host of the Rock Connections. And the Rock Connections is the reconnection, the bringing the pieces of Ausar back together with the help of his beautiful wife and queen, Aset, or Ast. The resurrection of Ausar is the healing of our sisters and brothers, not only here in Amenta, the West, but also throughout the world. And we must gather our parts and members so that we remember in order that we become whole again. This is love, and love is a unifying force. And we of Kim West believe the goal can be achieved through education, economics, social politics, spirituality. And later on, we're going to be talking about that, and today's topic itself is practical solutions for a post-2012 way of life. And all of this has a lot to do with support, like the brother mentioned, supporting our elders in their businesses, like Baba Haru's Studio Ptah, who's got, like he said, some of the best, or maybe in my opinion, the best artwork I've ever seen when it comes to crafting jewelry, period. Not just let alone Kemetic jewelry. So please, check out the brother's site, the Studio Ptah.
Yes, sir. Right now there's only one person I want to make that I want to get my authentic ancient Egyptian jewelry from. And I know that Baba Haru knows that. I'm really glad to be on Kim West. Kim West is the idea, it is the prophecy that Kemet would rebirth itself in the West.
Right.
Over where you found the mountains of Manu. where the sun sets. So it's a very interesting concept because for the ancient Kemau, where the sun sets is where they will rise. And we need to understand this in the understanding of Ra and the sun and the cycles that we are going through. Putting back together the pieces of Osiris. I have an idea. I believe that this year, 2014, is the last year to completely put back together the body of Osiris. The Western calendar must have some type of methodology to it. I don't think it's just arbitrary. We have a cycle of, I think it's 2,160 years for every age of the zodiac. And if we go back to that time, you would say around maybe like 100 BC, 50 BC is where we had this, major shift. 2014, we had the galactic shift. We had 2012. But now from the year 2000 to the year 2014, that's the period that we were really supposed to focus on remembering, like you said. And in the process of remembering is where we will find the fruits of practical solutions to heal our planet and to bring it forward into the future. So, Khepra Ptah, I am very, very honored to do the show with you. You were initiated to Ifa like myself. And, we are proud of our culture. We were raised in a movement that fixated us on the legacy of our ancestors, how great they were, and quite frankly, we can't give it up. Nothing can take it away from us at all. The only thing that can happen is that we can forget it, and for me, that's a choice.
And Baba Nu, one of the things as far as the resurrection of this legacy in Kim West, in the name itself, talking about the resurrection of Kemet in the West, which is we're definitely pushing the unification of supporting business. It's very important that we understand that we have to develop morals, or that is keep a moral culture going if we're trying to have that achievement, raise that consciousness and the elevation of everyone's vibration. The question might ask is, what does this have to do with Kemet as far as today? What makes it relevant? Which you had answered a few minutes ago. And, when we look at the greatness of our ancestors, and we become aware of what they did to become great in the first place. First of all, there's that concept called Ma'at. And we have Ma'at broken down over here into 7 principles: truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, reciprocity, propriety. And propriety is adhering to a moral code. And a lot of these, the teachings of today who profess to be Kemetic, they kind of ignore the idea of dealing with a moral code, but they want to talk about the Netaru and, do a lot of speculation. But at the same time, they don't want to do the work on themselves. And this is where we come into play, because we want to remind people that we have to work on ourselves. If we want to have a strong family, we got to work on ourselves. If we want to have a strong community, we have to work on our families. If you want to build or resurrect any type of nation or anything like that, you have to have strong communities. And this is where Ma'at is important, because morals is the fabric that holds families and communities together. You want to build a little bit more on that, Baba Nu?
Oh, yeah. The age of Pisces, the 2 fishes, which is the last Messiah, was the Messiah of the age of Ma'at, Pisces. Pisces is Ma'at. And, we're going to get into the last Messiah, because it is important to understand why we are in this karmic loop. If you study the Hopi prophecies, and the Hopi call themselves the Hopi because of the Happy Valley. But if you study the Hopi prophecies, every 25,920 years, 5 times in a row, it seems, humanity has failed. Humanity has failed miserably. And the ages end with Ma'at. So when you look at the processional zodiac, humanity is given 2,160 years to get it right. To get what right? To get law, love, and morals right. So we live in a current state where the people who own the architectural, infrastructural design of civilization are not making sure that morality is woven into the fabric of it. This is a failure. This is a monumental failure. Morals now becomes a conundrum for people who have any type of inkling of right or wrong. People don't believe in being righteous because they see that the leadership is beyond unrighteous. I've met too many people that believe that the way to be successful is to do wrong, to do evil in the sense of just pure evil. Be bad. I've also seen people that they really believe to make relationships work, they have to act this way. Because, we have to ask ourselves, what is the root of a lot of the conflicts that people have with relationships? The family is the nucleus of the nation. It is in the family that the training ground for morality mainly takes place because those are the people whom you are closest with. Without morality in the family, and we are saying that morality in the family is subverted by the way that civilization is designed, by the way that its institutions are set up. Specifically, I charge the monetary institution.
102.5.
Was that a break or are we back? Peace and love, guys. Is it time for break?
I think there might have been maybe a technical glitch.
Well, that's fine. Let us continue. So, if you look at that, why morality is important, but, what is hard about it, what I've found, morality requires advanced philosophical scenario running. You have to have scenarios around philosophies, ideas, analysis that challenge a person's moral aptitude. We are educated in, doctrines, I guess, that make it easier for the monetary system, the capitalistic infrastructures of industry to have workers. Our education is not geared towards moral aptitude. Now, growing up on the island of Barbados, it was very Christian-oriented, and we had things like the Beatitudes that we would have to learn. We would have to know certain things specific in the Bible that relate to good behavior, right? Now, that is as a child, but from what I'm seeing, it's something that needs to continue into it should be a continuing part of life. Moral aptitude should be something that we are consistently focused on year after year. When I look at the Khmer civilization, and it is something that I've looked at for, the better part of my life. The Khmer were known by the surrounding nations as the most moral of our people. This got translated into the legacy of whom we call the Moors. And you can see the word moral in the word Moor. You can see the word amore, which is love, because love and morals are interchangeable. There is no morality without love, like there's no love without morality. So, we know from research, there is this overwhelming proof that these people had probably the highest moral aptitude that the world had known in those days. Not them saying it, but other people who observed them came into contact with them. This is what they saw and observed from these people. So it would behoove a person who is really interested in having a better life, looking at what's wrong with life right now, to study the civilizations of the Nile Valley. And I say Nile Valley instead of just, Kemet, because Kemet for me was the fruit of the Nile. Kemet was a fruit of the Nile because this is where you have the Nile Delta. You have a lot of silt being deposited, rich soil, which allowed them to, really, really build up a farming complex, store food, help them to organize civilization, avoid things like hunger. They had a stable life. They also had a very good climatic situation. A lot of us don't understand what Holy Land means. Holy Land means that location is the best thing for business. Meaning that, when you don't have a lot of rainfall, but you have a lot of water, your outdoor life barely gets interrupted. The more you can have great outdoor life, the higher your inspiration, self-esteem about yourself can and will be. It was also in an area where there is plenty of sunshine, so that's another part of it. It was an ideal situation to build a great civilization, and I'm thankful that the Comores were able to do that.
Yes,
because
definitely.
Because we now have a library of greatness.
That is real. And a lot of this information has been suppressed, but by the grace of our ancestors, it's beginning to return to us, consecutively, in stages. Now, one of the things I think is very important is the idea of the spiritual focus of the ancient Kamau, and looking at those who actually refer to the Kemetic legacy today. And it's always puzzled me about those who talk about the achievements of the ancestors, actually calling out the names of the ancestors, and turn around and say that, well, Kemet was not spiritual but more intellectual and with no spirituality, which I kind of find to be bizarre. Because when you open up the Purdom Heru, the pyramid text, the coffin text, and you see that these things are loaded with hymns, prayers, and rituals, it's difficult to find the logic in claiming that all of it was just academic, seriously. But when you make, so I'm saying, make no mistake that the Kamau not only observed the forces of nature, Neter, they talked to them, they listened to them, they asked the forces of nature questions, and these forces answered their questions. Their spirituality was in fact scientific, and yes, they communicated with unseen forces. And no, it was not spookism. We use remote control devices today to turn on our TV. Most of our advanced technology operates by utilizing energies that are unseen. Your brain and heart emits waves and vibrations that are picked up by others on your frequency. Yet while you sleep, your lungs automatically breathe and your heart continues to beat. Your body heals itself up and your life force recharges. And all of these things are done for you without your effort. And this is the spirit at work. So there are some things that we do not have conscious control of, yet African tradition tells us that many of these things we go through in the so-called land of the living were determined before we were even born. We got a scholarship to be here while we were in the land of our ancestors. And you'll find these teachings consistent throughout the ancient practices that exist today. And one of our endeavors as spirit beings was to take the forms we have now and gain mastery over the material plane by spiritualizing matter. This is the science of alchemy. So we are here to basically take charge of our destiny to become great and at the same time lift each other up. This is where the love and compassion was. Those pyramids in Kemet were built out of love. It was built out of a cooperative effort to do the mathematics and learn the sacred geometry and align these temples and pyramids up with the stars. This was done out of love, the love to see the nation rise, to see the people achieve a certain consciousness. And we're forever evolving, forever expanding. We learn to master ourselves, the environment, so forth. Then we evolve into greater identities and entities. We practice here on Earth, prepare to eventually build a universe, learning how to dance, doing yoga, doing martial arts, all of these methods to learn how to gain mastery over the matter that composes our physical bodies. So the earth itself, Gab, is also learning through us. And when our bodies even become useless, and our spirits depart from these bodies, They're placed into the ground, and the wisdom accumulated in these physical forms, they go into the earth via decomposition. And when we take care of our planet, the planet itself becomes wiser. But when we allow it to get ravaged, to become sick, this threatens all life, both on it and in it. So it's hard to cultivate spiritual energy when one is negligent and too lazy to maintain the physical. And when we look at ancient Kemet, we see that these brothers and sisters worked. Now they had fun too. They dealt with
Time
joy.
for break.
Oh, okay.
It's time for us to cut the break, family. Thanks for listening in.
I say we'll be back momentarily.
Like a river.
102.5 equals 8. 8 represents the infinite process of the cycle. Music is universal. Music is infinite. Walk with us into the infinity of now. Your number one source for smooth jazz, soulful R&B, bumping hip-hop, and discussions of higher consciousness. 102.5 WKHM.
I'ma see if y'all ready. Count it down. 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to the hottest radio on Facebook.
Infinite Kim West on Facebook.com. 102.5 is number one because you made us number one.
102.5.
You're listening to 102.5 WKHM
on Facebook.com.
I'ma see if y'all ready. Count it down. 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to the hottest radio on Facebook.
Infinite Kim West on Facebook.com. 102.5 is number one because you made us number one.
102.5.
You're listening to 102.5 WKHM
on Facebook.com.
102.5 equals 8. 8 represents the infinite process of the cycle. Music is universal. Music is infinite. Walk with us into the infinity of now. 102.5 WKHM. Your number one internet radio source for talk, hip-hop, R&B, and jazz. 102.5 KHM on blogtalkradio.com.
And we are back with Kim West. You are now listening to the Rock Connection on Infinite Kim West 102.5 with Baba Nu and
Khepra
Ptah.
Yes, y'all.
Well, man, I was in Blog Talk Radio years ago, and when I first got on Blog Talk, it was on the show Occult Science Radio, and that experience, I would say, is one of the experiences that forever changed my life because I proved that racism is not a good, let's just say, racism is not financially lucrative. I also proved that diversity is financially lucrative. And I want to state that because, at some point, hopefully this show, we will be bringing guests on to the show. And, when I was on Occult Science Radio, Curtis Davis and we had an agreement, and that agreement was how the show would be conducted to maintain the integrity of the show. And I'm stating that because there were other people that I did shows with who did not care about this agreement, and for me that meant they didn't care about the legacy of our ancestors. And I want to say that because, there was a gentleman who would either call into the show or he would get into the chat room and he would say, you shouldn't allow the Babalaos, the Hungans, you shouldn't allow the priests and priestesses to be disrespected. That's not the way that the tradition is to be conducted. With that said, maybe people will call into the show being irate, but it's not really going to be tolerated, and we are not going to, get caught up in that type of distraction. because we are living at a very serious point in the life of human beings on planet Earth. As far as I'm concerned, your only route towards salvation is morality. If you don't evolve past your limited viewpoints as it relates to race, because that is one of the biggest issues on planet Earth right now, it seems like, a lot of human beings can't get over judging a person by their color and features as opposed to what type of ideas they exude, what type of behavior they express, or what type of ideals they hold to regardless of their situation. Best effort, by and large, you can say, hey, this is what that type of person is, as opposed to saying, well, that person's white people are this, or that person's black people are this, that person is Jamaicans are this. This has been a part of my history whereby when I immigrated to this country, I really didn't like the way that people from the islands sought to divide themselves, especially since I was like, well, we're all in the U.S. now, and we have a commonality, which is why we're even going back and forth about, certain things. So it's best for us to just unify and be one people. We have to do that for the human family as well. We have to show and prove to human beings that it is not what hue your skin is, and is not a single molecule. Now, I understand how melanin helps people in the sunshine. I understand that. With that said, it is not the single most important reason for whether a person is good, bad, or better. And this is why we have to get over that fallacy. As well, there are a lot of other things that are dividing us as a species. And I think that if we really look at resolving those things, and the people that can, they are going to be the superhumans of the future. The ones that will really be leading civilizations on planet Earth, the ones that will be appointed and given the opportunity to help to rebuild or to redesign civilizations on planet Earth, are the ones that are going to transition past these limiting concepts. And that's why Chem West is here. Chem West is here to show you that, by and large, the Khmer were dealing with that, but also I learned that there were many other civilizations further back in human history that resolved these issues and became a homogeneous blend, meaning that people of different hues, different phenotypes, because that's really what it is, came together and eventually became a homogeneous population, phenotypically and also ideologically. And, for me, that is the great work.
Well, it's interesting. When we look into the wisdom literature of our ancestors, it does say that Amun-Ra makes the skins of the nations to be different. I hear a lot of debate about this whole topic, but our own African wisdom literature says that Amun-Ra made the skins of the people different. I remember when I was dealing with Islam, it also talked about Allah made us all different so we would know each other and not despise each other. So, we have to look at the fact that diversity is going to be here in this universe because that's how the creatress expresses itself in diversity, forever expanding, taking new forms, or should I say evolving from one form into another form. And that's what we're going through, various different levels of consciousness. It is not about hatred. It's not about, being stuck on just revenge thoughts, because these things could throw your personal energy system off as well and actually lead to diseases within the body. But we also have an elite, aspect, or should we say negative aspects within the elite that are running this planet who continue to live off of people's misery and separation as well as their ignorance. So I don't want to put too much energy into those folks. But what I do say that we have to, begin to work on how we're going to unify and reach out and do trade, because that's how nations become great. You have to get beyond these lines. Ancient Kemet was not stuck on defining somebody saying, oh, that's a black man, or that's a red man, that's a yellow man. If they saw a man of a lighter hue, they'd just say, oh, that's a man from the north, or if the brother was of a even darker hue, they'd say, oh, that's a man from the south, and then they also defined themselves, and they knew exactly where people came from and, what people were there to do. And we opened up trade in the Nile Valley. It was the gateway to Africa. So looking at situations today, I'm looking at a lot of black businesses, how they might open up one minute and close because they want to focus on just themselves when they know that we have yet to discipline ourselves in dealing with the economic thing, and having some mastery over that. You want to focus on just black books, and I'm not saying that's not a good thing, but we also have to have more businesses that focus on a product that everyone would like or a service that everyone would like. Because if you try to stick with just one group of people and there's a financial situation where we might be dealing with robbery, or some type of loan sharking or whatever, we have to deal with other people. We have to basically be able to do trade with other people, other countries, other nations. This is what made Kemet great. They didn't just stay within their own country and didn't trade with anybody else. So this type of thought, in my opinion, is unrealistic for those who believe that we should only sell and trade amongst ourselves in such a big world where technology has expanded to the level that it has. More thoughts on that?
Definitely. I was looking at this, Chem West Tea, and, I was thinking about, hey, this T-shirt looks great. If this was something that, I personally was pushing, I would want Japanese people to wear it. I would want Europeans to wear it. I would want Africans to wear it. I would want Westerners to wear it. I wouldn't want it for just a particular country of people or a particular race of people. Else, I would think that, for me, the way how I would see it is that if it's not good enough for everybody, who is it really good for? These are some of the things that I think about. So, we were talking about the Bodhisattva. If you want to get that, Chemist Tea, please check it out on the Raw Connection portal. I think it's on Facebook. If people are in the chat room, maybe a link can be posted up. But, the Bodhisattva says that every single thing in the entire universe must be evolved. The Bodhisattva believes and knows that every single thing deserves the opportunity to evolve, but that everything should be. Evolution shouldn't even be a choice. It should be mandatory. And when I looked at the cosmology at Anu, Menefer, and Kemenu, and I look at Zenitert, Ma'at, Sofik, Eabut, and Seshat, and Tehuti, when I look at these deities, when I look at the fact that every single deity in ancient Kemet was seated on the standard of Ma'at, it says that it says that love rules. And it's, Ma'at in Khepra, Khepra in Ma'at, you evolve through love. Love is what evolves you. Lawfulness is what evolves you. But every single thing is alive. There is nothing really that's not alive. Look at a virus. They say a virus is neither dead nor alive. You understand what I am saying? But when we get down to the base structure of matter, which is atoms, those are little beings. Every single thing in the universe, in a sense, is your brother and your sister. This is what the wisdom of the ancient Kamo proved to me. So that when I went over to the East and looked at Buddhism, and I'm looking at Buddhism as I translated and understood the deep, clear science of the Kamo cosmological doctrines, they know that every single thing in the universe is each other's brother and sister, even though we all use each other to survive.
That's right.
And you know what that means? If you are a human, you are privileged in the universe, period, because you could just be a simple grain of sand. And this is why human beings are charged with the task of appreciating and being grateful for their life, and why they should focus on being better and more moral and more righteous, because you don't really need to exist. If you understand infinity, you don't really need to exist as a sentient, evolving being moving up the evolutionary ladder. You can simply be some DNA codes. You know, you can be a leaf, you can be some dust. And really, probably some of us have been all these type of things in the universe, finally getting an opportunity to be human, you know, to be a species with advanced reasoning, you know, with advanced feelings. All of these things have to be built up from the bottom up. And what I'm seeing is that human beings need to be reminded of how much they need to appreciate that they are what they are, because it could be so much less.
Now, you know, it's interesting that you bring that up, because the Yoruba word for human is Eniyan, which means chosen one. So therefore, having a human body is an opportunity to express the will of the creator or creatress through your being, and basically accumulate as many experiences as you can, utilizing the imagination and the creativity that each and every one was blessed with, as far as the divine spark of reason. And it's interesting also when we look into, we just said earlier about different people, you know, because we can all learn from each other at the same time. The Ptah Hotep, the first instruction of Ptah Hotep, which is said to be the oldest book in the world by many, says, "Be not arrogant because of your knowledge. Take counsel with the ignorant as well as with the wise, for the limits of knowledge in any field have never been set, and no one has ever reached them. Wisdom is rarer than emerald, and yet it is found among the women who gather at the grindstones." Now, this is not sexist. This is basically talking about the fact that you can get knowledge from anyone, any place. And a lot of times we might misjudge somebody based on their status, but we might not understand their experience or realize their experience. And when we learn from each other, and when we have that compassion, you know, understanding that the divine spark exists within everyone that we see, that we are tasked with the duty to make sure, especially those who are priests, to make sure that we're uplifting the community and we're not doing things to bring destruction upon the community. It goes on to say in the second instruction, "If you are a leader and command many, strive for excellence in all that you do, that no fault can be found in your character. For Ma'at, the way of truth, justice, and righteousness is great. Its value is lasting, and it has remained unequaled and unchanged since the time of its creator. It lies as a plain path before even the ignorant, and those who violate its laws are punished, although wickedness may gain wealth. Wrongdoing
I
has
am
never
an
brought
Egyptian religious fundamentalist. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
you. Thank you. You know, when I first wrote The God Genes Decoded, I included the precepts of Ptah Hotep. When I revised it, I took it out because that needs to be a book all by itself. With, you know, if you read the I Ching, you have certain contributors like Kung Fu Se, who they call Confucius, you know, meaning that you have to extrapolate that for the contemporary time, but it is eternal in its state.
That's right.
And people need to understand that the priesthood of Ptah, you know, this priest, Ptah Hotep, was also called Ausar. This is the Buddhist priesthood. And I hope people don't feel slighted by this, but, you know, the Buddhists are always given the privilege to lead, because Buddhists don't back down. They die first. That is Buddhism. When you see a monk go into the streets, put himself in a lotus pose, and pour gasoline on himself and burn it. Mm-hmm. That is saying, you can't kill us. We will establish the law, period. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about the precepts of Ptah. That text, I was told it was laid down at a time when Kemet was, let's say, it was falling apart. Mm-hmm. The priesthood of Ptah is an army. In fact, the priesthood is an army. So this great man codified this doctrine, and he had it distributed to the other temples. And he had the priests of other temples learn it. And then those priests would instruct the population. They would manage the population. They would police the population. Mm-hmm. And that's what made Kemet great. If the priesthood of Ptah, if the scribe Ptah didn't step up, we wouldn't have a Kemet to talk about.
Exactly. And the thing about Buddha, you look at even the word Buddha, and you look at the word bud in Sanskrit, which means to open, like a flower, like a lotus. Buddha, Ptah, means the same thing. Ptah, the opener. Buddha means the open one, the unfolded one, the enlightened one. And they also saw where the Buddha, who's sitting on top of the lotus, represents the true self, ever becoming, ever expanding. And this is what we are here to do, to continue to become, to expand, to be like the lotus, the bud. We're budding into blossoms, beings that basically take on many shapes, many forms as we expand in consciousness. And this is also what Buddha teaches, because we continue to expand, expand, expand. We become the Bodhisattva, and we take that vow because we want to free all beings who are caught in the cycles of the matrix or the samsara.
And, it's very, very deep because, we have that line, don't cast your pearls before swine. Mm-hmm. And that has to be juxtaposed to Buddhism, which states everything should be evolved. Every single thing, meaning that Buddha isn't the type of person that would refuse to try to enlighten a quote-unquote swine. Mm. Because in the Western world, people might think that why a person with such great knowledge would try to bring it to people who hates them, who doesn't care for them, who will rob them, and who will steal them. But when you read over the precepts of Ptah, it's clear. Who transgresses against you, Ptah, Buddha will take care of them. Whosoever transgresses against you, if you can't personally get justice, Ptah will take care of them. And people don't realize, because they don't see it, we are suffering from information overload, but people are getting their just deserves.
That's right.
In many, many forms. Me personally, I look forward to the next life. I look forward to the next life. I believe in making sure that my moral bank is overflowing.